Welcome back for another brave little book. This is The Last Warner Woman from Coffee House Press. Again, we have a title that's a term, so I'll help you out. Warner is actually not a last name, but it comes from the verb to warn. Adamine is a warner because she receives warnings from God, and then she takes to the streets and warns people about their impending doom. Earthquakes, floods, things like that. Sometimes people listen, and sometimes they just write her off as a lunatic. Sometimes her warnings come true, and sometimes they don't. Or perhaps it's just that the ones that don't appear to come true just aren't meant to be taken so literally. Maybe those times she meant a spiritual earthquake or some kind of inner flood. In this way, The Last Warner Woman is as much a book about writing as it is about reading, about how a warning can grow and its story can change. Adamine is old, and even as she tries to tell her own life story in the right way, it's hard for her to remember all of the details. So someone, Adamine calls him the writer man, goes looking for other people who might be able to help tell Adamine's story. Maybe if they tell their pieces of the story, the writer man can get the warning right. But this is a weird way of thinking about the goal of literature. Are all books really a form of warning? They say history repeats itself, so is the past just some kind of warning we aren't interpreting quite correctly? Or is the problem with the writer of the story? Is it that we're telling the wrong story, or are we hearing the right story wrong? Or maybe it's both. There's a part of the book where Adamine tells a series of parables in hopes that telling her story crossways, as she calls it, will help make the lesson or the warning clearer. But is it really clearer? Is there really any way for a story to be really clear? Or by nature of being a story, is that just impossible? And it's at this point I start to wonder if Adamine is onto something when she says she doesn't understand her gift, since her predictions always come true, whether she warns people or not. So what is this terrible game we're playing with ourselves if we're obviously incapable of either writing or reading a story that successfully warns? Why write at all? Why read at all? The future is coming for us, warned or not, so why not just take a nap until it gets here? At least then we'll be well rested. But I'd be steering you wrong if I led you to believe that The Last Warner Woman left you with nothing but the bitter taste of nihilism in your mouth. No, this is a book where stories are simply the state of things. They're everywhere. We read the world, and it reads us. And it's not perfect, no. But when Adamine tells her story, it heals her in a way that nothing else could. And hearing her story heals the writer man, too. And maybe the lesson that heals is the fact that our stories are all connected. Like if we could put them all together, they would make the perfect warning. What that warning might say, I have no idea. That was The Last Warner Woman, and I'll see you next week on Brave Little Books.